it's like we don't have time for this in our community.
Yeah, we don't. There's other things happening that we have to focus on. The interesting thing though is that he did this in Chicago. Is that where they taped Empire? I think that's where they taped Empire. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the fact that this happened in Chicago, the one place in the USA right now that is having the most problems right now, one of the places that have the most problems with violence and murder, that he would pull this kind of crap there. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. The Jussie Smollett situation going on. That whole thing was just very elaborate.
Actor Jussie Smollett was found guilty on Thursday of staging a hate crime against himself. Prosecutors said it was a bid for the one-time star of the TV drama Empire to gain sympathy and boost his career.
He did all of that for that?
This is what they're saying. So he thought if he pulled a stunt like this, it would make him more famous. Therefore, the show would see him as an asset. I mean, allegedly, this is why they're saying he did it.
I mean, I guess
there was money in it for him. That's why he did it. But I don't know. It backfired.
What an idiot! What an idiot! Every time I think of this, it's really embarrassing because the part where he like shows the noose on his neck, and then the cops come. They're like, "Hey, do you want to take that off?" Like, you know,
the story didn't make sense from the beginning, though. I mean, the idea that a guy would be a famous guy, would be walking around in Chicago at like 2 a.m. It's like 20 below, and Chicago gets cold. 20 below, and he's walking for a Subway sandwich. His hotel, his place where he works or he lives has a concierge. And so he could have just ordered food.
Yeah, so
the idea that he would be walking at 20 below at like 2 o'clock in the morning. By himself to get a sandwich.
And you know he didn't just like, someone had to put him up to this.
Like, why did you do that?
Like a publicist or something. And then so the larger problem with this is that the Chicago Police Department used a lot of resources to try to figure this out, which is what pissed them off. Now they made the state attorney. She got a lot of flack because she tried to make this all go away. She wanted the charges dropped, and the Chicago Police Department was like, no. It just, you use all of the, first of all, the problems that Chicago's having right now when it comes to crime, murder, these types of situations. And then this idiot goes and does this. Like, we don't have time for, they don't have time for that.
And you can look at it two ways. You can look at it, why did the cops spend all that time on this case? True. He didn't die.
Yeah,
he did. It wasn't like he got really. He
famous.
He got assaulted.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of a bruise, but he wasn't like bleeding, and he wasn't like, you know what I mean. He survived, even if it were true that a hate crime, that this was a hate crime. For the entire police department, like that, to focus on one case when you're in Chicago.
That means that the powers that be were told.
Right. That means that he was put on, that means that his privilege of being black and being gay and being famous made him a more of a priority than regular people. Yeah. Who actually, things actually happen.
Right.
And so, the police department, that was wrong to use them that way, but it also makes them see that maybe we shouldn't put so much time into a person just because they happen to be famous and have a name. Right. And somebody was saying the other day that if this guy gets no time in jail, then then the justice system works. Right. Because we're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, about everybody wants to say this. There are a lot of people who want to say that because he was white, he got off. No, it was self-defense. You know what I mean? So if if this black man who lied sees no jail time, right, then there's privilege there for us too. And so it's just like you can't let him get away with this. I'm one of those people that think that if you lie about like a hate crime, you need to get the time the person who would have gotten if the person would have actually went to jail, for a hate crime, you need to get that time. Yeah, because you wasted time and you started race problems. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like you ignited more race problems that didn't need to happen. Just for your own selfish reasons. Right. I feel the same way about like rape. If you're going to accuse a man of rape and he didn't rape you,
And
you need to go to jail.
And he did like time. Well, a lot of times men, this will happen, and men do some serious time in prison.
And then they find out they didn't do it.
Yeah, right.
You know,
so whatever happens to him, he needs to get the hand of the law needs to really come down on him.
There were people on CNN saying that this was like Emmett Till. This is nothing at all like Emmett Till.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I just like, this is how I feel about, you know, about like, when it comes to race.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just like, there aren't a lot of those crimes happening these days.
Yeah.
Not like that. You know what I mean? And for him to do that, it's just so elaborate. It's upsetting.
It's just very elaborate. It is, because it's like now, like we were saying before, like it's to the point now where if anybody that has an actual hate crime is happening to them, it's gonna be side-eyed. Now, like, is it really? You know what I mean? So that kind of hurts the actual people actually getting, you know, assaulted and victimized from these things, and he just made them look stupid. I'm sure the gay community is like embarrassed, because you know what? Honestly, whenever black people do dumb things like illegal, you know, or violent, whatever it is, I personally, even if I don't know them, I get embarrassed for like the whole community. So I can imagine like the homosexual community is probably like, this is so embarrassing.
It's really
like,
a good
dumb.
thing, because you can see him. He's caught on tape. You know, they see him on tape walking outside,
right.
and then you see two other men walking. It's a good thing two white men weren't walking; just happened to be walking.
I know.
Because they would be in jail, questioned, and treated horribly for
faces,
just being there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Faces probably plastered all over TV.
Right, and they find out they didn't do anything. They had nothing to do with it.
Remember when Amanda Seals? I think her name is Amanda Seals. I think it's her name. But I remember when she was on The Real, when she used to be a co-host on there. And when they talked about this subject then, she was like, I think what he did was low-key noble.
And even if it was a hoax for the sake of bringing attention to this, then I'm like, that's low-key noble, low-key noble, low-key noble.
And that went kind of viral, her saying that, because this is a good example. And she's a professor of African American studies. Like, she's like not a dumb woman, right? But when she said that, I thought, noble? Well, what do you mean? What's noble about? I mean, I don't understand. Why this is not noble.
Where's Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, where they at?
They want to talk about this?
But no one wants to talk about this.
They want to talk about, you know, how hey, you know, let's
lied.
Let's talk about not lying. Let's talk to Black people about not lying about hate crimes.
Right.
There was a not too long ago, there was a kid in school that wrote, I have to find it, I think he wrote the word nigger or something on something. He said that it was a racial slur. Someone had written that all over his locker. It turned out he did it.
One of the alleged victims of hate graffiti at the Air Force Academy Prep School ended up being the vandal. The Academy just completed its investigation into this racist message found on the doors of 5 African-American cadet candidates. And one of them admitted to doing it.
Oh.
This has happened a few times lately, where Black people actually did hoax, where it was all about, it was meant to start a race issue, but it turned out they actually did it.
Right, a little investigative.
And so, you know, it is upsetting that a young man, because he is young, a young man who's got his life ahead of him and has a lot of money, would waste his time on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes me angry, because it's like, we don't have time for this in our community. Yeah,
we don't. There's other things happening that we have to focus on. The interesting thing though is that he did this in Chicago. Is that where they taped Empire? I think that's where they taped Empire. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the fact that this happened in Chicago, the one place in the USA right now that is having the most problems right now, one of the places that have the most problems with violence and murder, that he would pull this kind of crap there.
And
like
suddenly,
they don't need any more publicity.
all of a sudden, Hollywood and mainstream media is kind of quiet.
Yeah, not really saying much.
Don't really want to talk about it too much.
Remember, we were watching Dave Chappelle, because if y'all seen the Dave Chappelle talk about this, he was saying that, you know, like, people are very quiet. You know, Black people, you guys are very quiet.
And for some reason, African Americans, we were like oddly quiet. We were so quiet about this shit that the gay community started accusing African American community of being homophobic for not supporting him. What they didn't understand is that we were supporting him with our silence. Because we understood that this nigga was clearly lying.
I mean, just the idea that there were like white men walking around with MAGA hats. You know,
with a noose
and some bleach, looking for what? For him?
Right.
Like who? Why would anyone? You know what I mean? That isn't even really. That's a reach.
Yeah.
You know, as far as no two white men are walking around in Chicago in the middle of the night,
cold as hell,
in the middle of morning,
2:00.
20 below. Walking around with some bleach and a noose that looks like a little string. Looks like a little shoestring.
Yes,
it was not even like a rope. It was like a little shoestring that was even, you know what I mean? And then throws it on him, hits him over. You know what I mean? That just seems like That's
what I'm saying. Who put him up to this? See, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I was like, who put it? Because I know that's a pretty elaborate thing and it's stupid. Like, it's stupid. But I wonder who's put him up to this. I know he didn't come up with this himself. He couldn't have.
Well,
right?
It was pretty poorly done, so maybe he did.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? If you think about it.
But someone must have given him the idea to do some kind of something like this, like you said, to make himself more famous. And I just, it's just...
He probably just had an idea. Those guys worked on the Empire set with him.
Yeah, they were
so
trainers,
he met them there. You know what I mean? But I just think it really is one of those things where it's really a shame. You know what I mean? It's a shame when I see black people who are succeeding in life then do something so stupid and make us all look like idiots, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, black people in our country, we scream racism a lot these days. And then when something like this makes us look dumb.
Right.
Like what white people say are true. Like you guys are just whining about nothing. And I know a lot of white people think that. Black people are just whining about it's not that much racism, and then we do something like this and it makes it true. You know what I mean? Right. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like
it sets us back.
It sets us back.
Yeah,
it's like
any kind of progress you make, and then you do something like this, kind of just this kind of.
And these two Nigerian guys who are in our country, messing up things. Yeah. You know what I mean?
What happened to them? So he paid them like $2,000, right?
I don't know if they got off for coming forward.
Yeah,
but that happens a lot.
So they really wanted to get him because he was the one that's lying. Yeah. But it's.
I think the FBI got involved. So when that happens, you start getting negotiations about it. And there were videos of stuff. So he clearly got caught.
And then he tried to another part of it was that he tried to, he put Trump's thing in there too with the whole MAGA hat and all that stuff. So it's like, man, he tried to get all of it into one, the racism and everything into one, homophobia. And then I guess they were saying that they were talking about, like, hey, that's the guy from Empire. Two straight white men watching Empire. White people are not watching Empire, so understand that.
That is a black show. Only black people are watching.
Yeah, right.
I know. I don't see any white people watching.
I think that show's not even on anymore.
I've never watched one episode of
regular TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting. Like I feel like he's whatever happens to him. I really do hope he gets the book thrown at him.
Yeah,
because he wastes a lot of time. It's really embarrassing. He wasted a lot of time.
Like I said, if there had been two white men walking and got caught on that tape, just because they were just walking. Yeah. I mean, imagine what they would have had to go through that night because some celebrity was faking a hate crime. And they just happened to be walking past at the wrong time.
Celebrity.
You know what I mean? It's just like, you see what I'm saying? You can ruin people's lives doing this kind of thing.
Right.
Again, you set us back, and then it makes us look like we whine and cry a lot instead of because then when real hate crimes happen, and we're over here faking them, you know what I mean? Then we really, it's just the same thing. Like I said, when women call rape and they didn't get raped. You know what I mean? Or when people scream racism and there is none. Stop, when you overuse something, you talk, you know what I mean? You diminish it when it happens to people for real.
Yeah, well, you're always pulling out a race card. You're always putting out the homophobic card. If you're always pulling that out at every turn, then you water it down. You water down the actual people who are victims. of stuff like this, right? You really do. And so that's what he's done.
Mm-hmm. And all these
know?
Hollywood people, when it first happened, were all like a justice for Jussie, and then that girl from Juno, she did that whole cry. Did you should have seen her?
No.
She was on. You should see that. I'll show it if I can find it, but that'll be easy to find.
What happened to Jussie Smollett is a hate crime. It's absurd. The isn't a debate. The Vice President of America wishes I didn't have the love with my wife. He wanted to ban that in Indiana. He believes in conversion therapy. He has hurt LGBTQ people so badly as the government of Indiana, and I think the thing we need to know, and I hope my show Gaycation did this, in terms of connecting the dots, in terms of what happened the other day to Jussie. I don't know him personally. I sent all of my love. Connect the dots. This is what happens. If you are in a position of power and you hate people, and you want to cause suffering to them, you go through the trouble. You spend your career trying to cause suffering. What do you think is going to happen? Kids are going to be abused, and they're going to kill themselves. And people are going to be beaten on the street. I am lucky to have this time and the privilege to say this. This needs to stop.
First of all, for her to say that, it's not that what she's saying isn't true. The point is that she is making a case against Trump.
Yeah.
When that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
And Trump did help black people a lot in his campaign. Yeah. And for her to make it seem like he's all racist, and him and Pence, because Pence is really religious, and he doesn't believe in gay marriage.
Yeah.
A lot of religious people don't. It's in the Bible.
Right.
And since the Bible is something that we're encouraged to have and to listen to, and it says that, what are you going to tell people?
And it's a very,
be okay with gay marriage when
I'm supposed to, when I don't, it's not part of my religion. It doesn't.
I don't get. People have the right to have an opinion, but I didn't see Trump or Pence doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, and that's my opinion. You know what I mean? But I just feel like she's making a case about what happened with Jussie, which was false. It was false. She didn't have all the information to be doing this.
Right.
That's my opinion. And for her to have a photo of her and her wife available, this is all scripted. You know what I mean? It's like, who has a picture? She's about to go on a rant. Who has a big picture, ready to put up,
like an 8x12, ready to go.
She's an actress.
And then she's trying to get the clap. I mean, this is very, she's trying to get the clap and stuff. It's so annoying.
And it just is annoying to me. You know what I mean? She did try to get the clap. People weren't sure if they wanted to clap. You could tell.
Well, because she was on this weird
plea, emotional plea.
Strange.
And it's just like, celebrities have no idea what regular people go through. She was lost in Hollywood somewhere, and it's just again, when celebrities try to act like they're regular people,
it's always weird.
It always makes me cringe.
I know. But do y'all ever feel embarrassed? Y'all ever feel embarrassed when someone who is part of your race or something, you feel embarrassed for them? Well, it's just do you ever get that, oh man, black people, why we always gotta do this stuff?
It's just like O.J. Simpson. He gets off, privilege,
Yeah, right.
Another black privilege here.
Right.
He gets off, you know what I mean? And then he just can't be free. Mm-hmm. He has to then go and do more stuff.
This is what I would have done.
Make books that were inappropriate.
Right.
And had to get pulled off. Then goes and tries to go and steal his memorabilia or all his stuff back at some casino, and then gets arrested.
That's why he got
arrested. Now he's in jail. You know what I mean? You see,
man,
where we can improve. Right. What I say when I say, when do we take responsibility for ourselves?
Right. When does that happen?
When do we start marching and stuff for things that we do? How can we be better? I mean, that's just my question.
Yeah.
Like there are things that I know that happen to people, but let's talk about the things like we do. Like Jussie. Like OJ.
Jussie.
Like all of the crime that happens on the street that is preventable and doesn't need to happen. Children who get killed by gunpoint. And they're kids. And they live in these neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Like, why are we talking about stuff like that? When you leave an area that is challenging in your childhood, and you get out, and you now you have, not only do you have money, but you have a platform to talk to a lot of people in those areas, and then you act completely. To me, I find it ungrateful.
And also, I feel like they're trying to like put it out there that they're still part of the hood, when they very well obviously know they're not anymore. They're far removed from it, and it's like you still want to have that hood kind of like attitude, and your lyrics are all hood kind of related. And I'm like, you got out. But you would much rather make sure all the people listening to you still believe that you're somehow connected to the hood. Yeah. It's like, no, you're not. You're far removed from that.